So there's been a lot of interest recently in the anesthesiologist assistant profession. We've been blowing up sort of online and people have been seeing the salaries. It's starting to get out of the bag and we're in the middle of a new application cycle right now. We're getting a lot of questions from viewers on YouTube, people writing me personal messages, approaching me on campus, and as well as some questions from the people that I'm coaching, giving some advice to that I think that it would be helpful for everyone who's interested in applying or who is applying to sort of flush out, is this going to be a right fit for you? And then if it is, how can you be successful in your applications? So I've been getting a lot of questions. I'm going to make a new series where I just go through the questions and hopefully it's very helpful for you. All right, viewer question number one. How do you prepare for the interview? Having completed the process, do you have any tips? I appreciate your help and advice that you can offer. I'm looking to apply this cycle, and it's hard to find information about this field since it's a lesser known profession. Yeah. So, how do you prepare for the interview? I interviewed at quite a few places: Indiana University, Emory, Case Western, uh, NSU, Neomed, UMKC. I think that was it. Um, so those are the schools I applied to. I got accepted pretty much everywhere. And people interview differently at different schools. So you're going to want to tailor it to where you're going. I'll tell you at Emory, they cared about clinical knowledge. They wanted to know how you were. They had me do this simulation. Basically, this was during COVID, so they weren't doing it in person. We were on Zoom. They had me with my camera on, squeezing this fake bag, like as if I was ventilating someone's lungs. In the meanwhile, they had a pulse oximetry and waveform and EKG on there. What's a normal heart rate? What's a normal blood saturation? They wanted to know these things, and they asked me questions while I was sitting there squeezing the bag. They wanted to see, while I'm distracted answering the questions, can I notice the changes in the monitors? And while I'm, squeezing the bag, can I hold a conversation? That's an interesting way of doing an interview. And they did have a more normal interview besides that part. But a lot of the places, they just want to get to know who you are personally, right? They've seen you on paper, and if you've been invited to an interview, it means that you have the grades it takes to be part of the program. What they want to do is they want to disqualify the people that have the good grades, but they aren't going to be a good fit. Anesthesia, there's a lot of personal skills that come into it, right? It's very important that we're very proficient in our hard sciences, math, science, medicine, all these things, physiology, pharmacology. They're important. But a great anesthetist is going to have the interpersonal skills that it takes to go into a room and to really have a powerful presence, to communicate with the surgeon, to communicate with the patient, to put everyone at ease, and to really run things well. Yeah, anesthesia, I think, has like the reputation, or maybe the conception, that you sit quietly in your corner and you don't do anything. But I've seen anesthetists that are loud, and they communicate well with their surgeon, and they're a big part of care. And the guys who say hi to every person in the hallway, these veteran anesthetists that they've been working a long time, and I gotta say, that's kind of the people that get the most respect, to be honest with you. And so it's important that you demonstrate having good social skills. So you want to come in, you obviously want to be dressed professionally, make sure you get a haircut, make sure how your suit fits, make sure that you're speaking in a very professional manner, but you also want to be able to demonstrate your personality, right? Don't clam up. The interview is not a place to be too reserved or too cautious. You want to be able to express yourself and really get that across. So it does feel a little bit weird to open up some of these parts and make yourself more intimate with your interviewer, in the sense that they want to know like your life story, what you're all about, what gets you going, what motivates you, all these things that are honestly very personal. You have a short time to communicate these things. So I hope you do. I hope you do. And I hope you practice this. The only thing that made me more confident in my interviews was doing more interviews, right? So my university, they offered mock interviews. Now they did this for medical school admission, dental school admission. I came from Virginia. No one knows what an anesthesiologist assistant is over there. I'm trying to change the pace of the conversation, but use those resources. Go into the mock interview. Be able to answer, why do you want to be an anesthesiologist assistant? And, don't come up with always the cliche answer. I want to help people. Yeah, you can help people in a lot of places. You can help people as a nurse. You can help people in sales. You can help people in the service industry. You can help people in tech. Like, why do you want to be an anesthesiologist assistant? Why don't you want to be a physician? Why don't you want to be a nurse? Be able to justify your position. And with that, don't be afraid to acknowledge the elephant in the room. It's a good profession. If your answer is, I see this as a really great opportunity for me to provide for my family and to get a leg up in life, and of course I'm passionate about it and I'm wanting to do well in here, and that's a perfectly fine answer. They've already read your personal statement, but it's going to be a lot like that. It's going to be you telling your story. What did you do to come here? And what are you going to do to be successful here? Because you're going to go into this interview room and there's going to be people, most likely to your left, to your right, other applicants interviewing with them. And you want to stand out and you want to make yourself memorable and you want to convey that you are going to be a strong student and you're going to be a successful clinician. So you don't want to give them any reasons to doubt you, and you want to convey confidence. So the only way you're going to get that confidence is practicing, right? When I went to my first interview, I was very nervous. When I went to my sixth interview after being accepted at 5 schools, I came in very confident. And that's the truth. It's going to take practice, and good luck on your interview. Hey Jonah, great video. I'm an aspiring AA and I saw you use ANKI to aid your studying. Are these decks available publicly to help other students, or are they school specific? And what other study strategies or resources have you found to be very helpful other than note cards, if any? Thank you. All right, so I do use ANKI. I use Quizlet, I use PDFs. These are all resources that are student made. And the reason that people recommend ANKI so much, it's a good software, but the reason that people, especially in medical school and in medical education, the reason it's so valuable to them specifically, it's that they have these big ANKI decks that are made by, dozens of authors. They're revised over time and they're made based on a shared curriculum, right? No matter what med school you go to, you're going to be studying for USMLE or excuse me, you're going to be studying for USMLE or whatever smaller tests you might have. And the curriculum is largely going to be the same, right? So they have these big standardized decks. That's not the thing. This is not medical school, and everything here is a little bit different. So there are 5 NSU campuses: Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, Denver. And even between Fort Lauderdale and Tampa, we have the same classes on paper, but our curriculum is different. We have different professors. They teach different things. Our exams are different. And it's a unique experience wherever you go. So we don't have any of these big resources that are going to be perfectly correlated. So everything that I study from, it's all made by students from NSU Fort Lauderdale. These are things that are made by my classmates, my peers. They make Quizlets for me, or for everyone, for themselves, really. They just are kind enough to share it. And the students who graduated in years before me, they've made Anki decks that I use. They're all really based off of the PowerPoints that our um, professors give to us, and a combination of that and practice questions that they have, and textbook stuff. Really, anything that they've found to be useful, they made it. But it's not going to come into play for on the level that it does for medical school. So I always, try to diversify, and I try to pick the study strategy that works for me and works for the situation that's applicable. So, what other study strategies and resources do I use? Well, the big one I'm going to advocate for is partners. Having a study partner for certain classes and certain subjects, it's really great. Um, and you have to study for each class differently because each all the material is different. So let's talk about anatomy. In my first semester, I studied anatomy and physiology here. So anatomy is something that I like to study in 3 dimensions. Some resources, it'll be photographs of cadavers, or it'll be 2D illustrations. They're all right, but it's really not the same, especially when you get into very intricate areas, especially next to bones and canals and certain angles. It's very particular. So I use this app called Complete Anatomy. My school paid for it. Um, it's a 3D model I used on my iPad to blow up all these structures and highlight certain things and make these connections. We also went to the library, used plastic models, and went to the cadaver lab after hours, where it was a little bit more challenging because you have no electronics. So you go in with a textbook. We used netters and a structure list that was written by a professor. Just go by one on the cadaver and try and identify the structures. And the best way to do that is with a partner. Similarly, when I was studying pharmacology, it was a lot of memorization. We had this big PDF that a student had made with all the information transcribed from the PowerPoints. And it was a lot of very particular information that needed to be memorized. Now, Anki could be a way to learn this stuff, and we did use Anki as well to supplement everything. But the principles behind Anki, they're spaced repetition and active recall. And that's exactly what you're going to use your partner to do, right? So if your partner has questions written down on a piece of paper, they can give you spaced repetition and active recall. So every time they're quizzing you, that's active recall. And when they notice which ones you get right, which ones you get wrong, and they repeat the ones you get wrong and pass to you on the ones that you get right, that's spaced repetition. So just because there are no resources available doesn't mean you can't take advantage of these study strategies on the fly. And I really encourage having a partner, because not only is it going to be a way to really take advantage of those mechanisms in material where it's just a PDF or it's less developed, or you don't want to spend hours of your day writing flashcards or messing around with this stuff. If other people have made it, great, take advantage of it. But if it's just a PDF or a textbook or whatever, or just them coming up with questions on their own, take advantage of it. And you'll find that studying with a partner, it's something I never did in undergrad, or like almost never. For group projects, maybe if I didn't understand something, maybe, but really not really. But in anesthesia school, it's been essential and vital to my success, I think. And you'll discover that it's a lot easier to stay on track when you have someone else with you. If they're asking you questions, you can just go for longer. And if you're studying by yourself for 2 hours, 3 hours, you're going to get burnt out. But with a partner, and if you need to study all day for 10 hours, it's a little bit easier, because even when it's time to go get lunch, man, I'm driving the car and one of my classmates, she'll be sitting shotgun with the PDF reading me, "Hey, Jonah, what's the answer to this?" And then I'm thinking about it. We're talking about it. We're having a conversation about anesthesia on our way to go pick up some takeout and go back to the library and keep studying. So how you studied in undergrad, it's really not going to be how you study in anesthesia school, but it all works out. And it seems really daunting at first, but with enough repetitions, you'll pick it up. Do you think it matters where you get your undergraduate degree? What about the prestige of the school? I want to go to a small college, but I'm worried about if it would weaken my application. So I went to community college. I took dual enrollment credits. I had AP credits, and I went to my 4-year university for only 1 year in person, 1 year on Zoom during the pandemic. It does not matter, in my opinion, where you get your undergraduate degree. The prestige of the school, it's something that could help you if you graduated from somewhere very prestigious, but I don't think graduating from a normal university is anything that's going to harm you. I think community college is fine. It's only going to affect your GPA and possibly the letters of recommendation you get. The only thing I'll warn you about a really small school is the way you might be forced to take classes there. For example, for me in community college, I couldn't take the classes every semester. So if they offer a class in the fall, I couldn't take it in the spring, couldn't take it in the summer. It became a problem. So some of these things are just some things to think about. Can I take classes online? That's another question I get all the time. One thing they told me in my advising for my university is that, hey, pay attention, know what your transcript says. So if you take a class online and you take a class in person and your transcript doesn't say the difference, it just says you passed the class with this grade, then it doesn't matter, right? Because you're sending in your transcript. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Also, make sure that you get to take the classes that you want to take. So at my university, we didn't have anatomy and physiology available to all the students. They only had so many professors, and they closed it off to everyone except for certain majors, I think like exercise science and such. So I wasn't able to take it. I went back to community college online and took anatomy and physiology in undergrad. And that's what I went with. And that's the professor, my online professor, who wrote my letter of recommendation for AA school, at least one of them. So keep that in mind. It could be easier to get letters of recommendation from professors at a small college. But if you're at a bigger college, I was that guy who out of a lecture hall of 160 students, I went up to the professor. I shook hands. My name is Jonah. Nice to see you. I went to office hours. We chatted about stuff that I didn't really care that much about, but hey, it's about being memorable, and it's really important that you don't go to a professor and ask for a letter of recommendation and they don't really know who you are, what you're about, what you want to do, what your strengths are. Don't do that. And yes, when you submit to have them write your letter of recommendation, obviously you're not going to go empty-handed. You're going to say, here's my CV, here's my resume, here's what I've done, here's my achievements, here's what my strong suits are, here's my, everything about me, here's what I particularly enjoyed about our classes, here's my achievements in school. You're going to give these things to your professor so that she has something to write your letter of recommendation with. But those are the two big things: GPA, getting the right classes, and getting your letter of recommendation. But also, I would stick to one or two from a professor. Make sure to get a letter of recommendation from clinicians. That's also important. All right. I'm graduating with my computer science degree from Rutgers in May. I plan to work in tech for some time since I have not done pre-med or pre-AA recs. Plan to do them at community college. I was thinking of going to AA school in the future. Do you think it's a good idea? I'm 20 years old right now, and I'm thinking of going to AA school when I'm 23 or 24. All right. So, graduating computer science in May, and you're 20. Oh boy. One thing that I really believed when I was in college is that I have to rush. I felt like I had to rush and that I had to finish my master's degree, and then finally I'll be working, and then I can be happy. And let me tell you, life just happens at every stage. So I was hot to trot. I wanted to get in as soon as I could. I was even, it was even at the point where I was considering, oh, this school starts in January, this school starts in August. Oh my gosh, that's 8 months. Do I really want to wait 8 extra months? And it's a consideration. But let me tell you, life happens, and you'll be happy, or you can make yourself happy at every stage of life. And you don't need to feel rushed in this direction. Um, as long as you're, having progression in your life, you'll be happy. Um, you'll be happy while you work in tech for a few years. You'll be happy when you go to community college, get your AA prereqs. There's no need to like sprint through like I thought I needed to. If you go to AA school when you're 23 or 24, you might even be on the younger end of the average age. So I think that's a great idea. Take your time. Don't feel rushed. If you need to apply more than once, it happens. You'll be just fine. Hello, Jonah. Thank you so much for your fantastic content. You're welcome. What would you do if you were someone like me with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics to prepare yourself to apply for CAA school? I'm 25 and want to make this career transition. Good choice. I understand shadowing and medical experience is necessary for admissions. It is. What I'm struggling with is the shadowing experience component. I cannot afford to quit my job to shadow. The hours required to make it so that it'll take years if I shadowed after my full-time job before I accrue the necessary number of hours to apply. How would you go about this? Admissions for anesthesia school is not the same as admissions for medical school. It is not the same as admissions for PA school. I know these places actually sit there and tell you, you need this many clinical hours to apply. It's not the same for AA school. We require shadowing. At the minimum, on paper, they require shadowing of between 8 and probably 20 hours, depending on where you're applying. And that's it. 8 to 20 hours, that's 2 weekends. Now, that's the minimum, and it's always beneficial to have more. But if you are really stuck in your job and you don't want to quit, which I'm not necessarily encouraging you to do so, all the entry-level medical jobs you'll be looking at are going to be like $18 an hour, $20 an hour, which I'm sure for you would be a step down. It's something that you would only want to entertain if you could maybe do it on weekends or nights, just to get your foot in the door, get experience and such. But it's not going to take that much to get the shadowing. It'll take some legwork. It'll take some creativity in terms of finding someone that you know, a CRNA, an AA, a physician anesthesiologist, hell, even a surgeon, a dentist, and anyone who can maybe get your foot in the door and maybe even just make that introduction so that you get to meet the right person. Search your contacts and do some networking. It's going to take some legwork. You could even reach out to some of the universities or their admissions and see if they have any recommendations for who you might be able to shadow. It's going to be hard, but it's not going to require tons and tons of hours. It definitely helps, but not always necessary, at least not at the minimum level. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. I see we're already running over time here, so we'll break off the rest of my questions into another episode that I'll put up next week. So leave any questions you have below. I'll try and get to them. I'll try and be nice and thorough, and subscribe. It really helps. It really does mean a lot. And we'll put the rest out very soon. See you then.